Hi, I'm Johnny Delirious, and I'm here to tell you there's no reason to be ashamed of having hepatitis C. As a matter of fact, there's no reason to be ashamed of having any kind of hepatitis. You see, I had hepatitis A, B, and C. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. Uh, when I was in high school, and this is when I was a junior in high school, it was about 1969. There was about 7 of us guys and about 4 or 5 of us of the gals, and we all came down with hepatitis A. You see, I grew up on the coast of Florida, and in those days, of course, we had fake IDs. The bars had all you can drink, all the oysters you can eat, all the beer you can drink for $12. Oh, wow, and so a lot of us went to those all the oysters you can drink. Well, around the early 70s and late 60s, the oysters were tainted with hepatitis, and a lot of people were catching hepatitis. I mean, maybe we got hepatitis that way from eating so many oysters. I'm almost sure that's how we got it. Anyway, everybody's always, first thing they ask you, well, how'd you get it? And that's one of the reasons why they make you feel ashamed, because, it's this stigma. Well, let me tell you, there's no reason to be ashamed of it. Okay, so my mom quarantined me for 2 or 3 weeks. My father was a doctor, and they basically took care of me. The yellow in my eyes went away. The yellow in my skin, everything went away, and I went back to school. Everything was fine. Then in my senior year, a lot of in our same group, we were playing rock and roll, and I was lending my harmonicas to a couple of guys in the band, and I played flute and rhythm guitar, and we caught hepatitis B. And again, same thing. My mom quarantined me again, and after this time it took a little longer, about 4 or 5 weeks. The yellow in my eyes went away, the skin tone came back. They nursed me back to health. I went back to school, graduated from my senior year. Everything was all fine, boom, bada boom, no problem. And things went on, and of course, I lived to party, and that's the way it was. I was probably the original wedding crasher, living in Pensacola, Florida. We're 3 hours away from New Orleans, and so, and I had my jobs. I was very, we were the type that worked hard and we played hard. So I had lots of good jobs and everything. And back in those days, I worked as a salesman. I worked at a lot of different jobs, and it had responsibility to it. Then in 1981, they had diagnosed me. I got a blood test because my eyes got yellow again. And I was diagnosed with a non-A, non-B hepatitis. And I'm like, well, we don't know. It's hepatitis, but it's a non-A, non-B. And at that time, they just didn't have anything to call it. Well, again, after about a month or so, the yellow in my eyes went away. My skin tone went back. I got plenty of good energy again. And basically, I just forgot about it. I didn't think anything of it. So the years went by, and by the mid-'80s, I was working in a laboratory here in North Dallas. It was in Addison, right off Keller Springs Road, right off the Dallas North-South Turnpike. And Jim Davenport put hair analysis on the map during the 70s and 80s. And we were our protocol was very, very known throughout the industry as being a very accurate protocol. We did all the hair analysis for about 500 healthcare practitioners. There were over 300 of them were medical doctors, and we sent them the elemental analysis as well as the nutritional recommendation, as well as the vitamin and supplement recommendation. And so they were able to help their patients and their clients get into better health based on the analysis. We also did water analysis, and we did all the water fountain testing for the Dallas County schools, and we also did the water fountain testing for the U.S. Navy in 1989 for all U.S. Navy water fountains. So our tests were very accurate, very known in the industry, because we did independent analysis. There was no automation. And because it was tested one by one, each sample was tested individually, our protocol was captured and bought and seeked for by NASA, and they put it up in the space stations because it was such a valuable protocol. So in the late 1980s and early 90s, we sold them the protocol. But I have to say that the laboratory did really well, and by the late 80s I was chair, and it was my responsibility to make sure that the lab was in tip-top shape, and it was. However, Johnny's life was not. His personal life wasn't going so well. As a matter of fact, toward the late 80s, a cup of coffee didn't get me out of the house. I had to get to work, so I just relied on my old standby from back in Florida. A big rail of cocaine always got me out of the house. Boom! So I do that big rail of cocaine, I got out of the house and got back in the lab, and I kept the procedure manuals up to date, met with our director, made sure all the lab techs were compliant with our procedure manuals until about 1991, until it all came crashing down when I went in for a test with a doctor's appointment, and they said, wow, you've got hepatitis C and you've got it really bad. Your liver enzyme levels are off the chart. And, a couple of days without any cocaine, I couldn't do anything. So basically I had to sell out the lab, and I had to get well. So I went back to University Hospital and got a biopsy, and they said I had 96% scar tissue, and they go, Johnny, we don't know how you're surviving right now. You only have 4% liver function. And frankly, I didn't know either. I couldn't even run a couch. And before, with cocaine, I was running a whole laboratory and a staff and everything, and met all the requirements. And I couldn't even now, without cocaine, I couldn't even run a couch. I couldn't even run a remote. And in those days, in the early 1990s, it was only on and off, channel and volume. That was it. That was all there was to the remote. I couldn't even run that. So I said, all right, look, and what do I got to do? And they said, well, you need a liver transplant. That's your only hope to survive. And I said, okay, I'll look at, give me some research on the interferon and the cocktail. They kept saying the cocktail. You need the cocktail and a liver transplant. That's your only hope to survive. So they were just flabbergasted that I would question what they had to say. And I said, well, this is a university hospital. You do have research on this. They go, oh, yes, Johnny, okay. And at that time, they were like giving it to me, but they were just, so upset with me that I would question their authority. And so I took it home. I said, okay, I'll take home the study and I'll get back to you. And so a week or so later, I came back and also got some second opinions, and all the other opinions came back the same thing. They said, that's your only choice is a liver transplant and the cocktail. So I went back to them, and I just, for a lot of different reasons, I just couldn't do the transplant. And I just said, no, I can't do the transplant. They go, oh my God, Johnny, we're working so hard to save your life. You can't make these decisions. You're just delirious. And of course, that's how I got my name, because I just sat there. They kept fussing at me, and I was going, well, Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. And of course, at that point in time, on my way out the door, they said, all right, Johnny Delirious, you're a dead man, just like that. So that's how I got my name. From then on, they started, everybody was calling me Johnny, because my family and everybody said, you're just so stubborn. You won't do anything right. You won't even follow what the doctors have to say. They're right. You are delirious. You're just nuts. So I was ostracized. I was given the stigma. I didn't date. I was this phenomena that everybody wanted to stay away from like a leper. And so I understand if you're ashamed of having hepatitis. There's no reason to be ashamed of having hepatitis. There's no reason to keep hepatitis. There's no reason to be afraid of hepatitis. And there's no reason to die from hepatitis. And I'm here to tell you why, and that's the point of all these videos, is to give you liver health tips and to show you that you don't have to keep hepatitis. There's no reason to, and no matter what treatment options you choose to do, if you have good liver health, you too can get over hepatitis. And I'm here to help you with these videos with good liver health tips. So come back, I'll give you good liver health tips. You take care of yourself.